Hi, my name is Tempest.
There's one TikToker that we haven't covered in depth on this channel.
Well, you see, when God was making us, he accidentally knocked our brain off the end of the table and it just...
Sure, we've mentioned them in the past, and it's honestly surprising that we haven't actually done a deep dive on them, considering the fact that they are probably one of the most well-known TikTokers when it comes to DID and just overall mental health on TikTok.
If any of you sees us on any one of those compilations, you had better let us...
A little disclaimer at the beginning, I am pretty sure they do have a DID diagnosis. But one thing is for certain, they definitely play up for the camera, creating new personas and also depicting the mental illness in ways that just simply don't make sense.
My name is Alex. My name is Alex.
But they do claim to have other things among just DID, that being ADHD, OSDD and BPD, and of course, DID. As seen by a lot of the tags they actually end up using in their TikTok videos.
Thank you for calling the solar system. The system you are trying to contact is not currently available. Please hold for the next available system member to come to the front.
But as we're gonna see later on in the video, that is just undiagnosed and they just claim to have it, which isn't how it works. And when talking about very serious subjects such as that, it's important to have a full diagnosis. I've had an interaction with this person in the past as well, and many people have, and you may know them as the solar system. It always has the word system in the name, apparently. Nice. So, around about now, you're probably thinking to yourself, how come I recognize this person? Literally, if you've seen any videos on this channel in the past and you're a fan of this type of content, you must have seen this person. Sometimes even when I'm on Instagram just randomly scrolling, memes will come up about this exact person. It's impossible to escape not seeing. Well, she has been on the fake disorder cringe countless times. In fact, when people with real DID started getting bullied on the subreddit, she would come to the bully side, aka Pink Sugar Fairies, who we've also covered on this channel. In doing so, she made a very cringy video saying that her name was Tempest, and she is a force to be reckoned with.
Really foolish of you. You really thought you were saying something, didn't you? Listen, I don't have a whole lot to say to you because most people have already absolutely destroyed you, and I personally am very satisfied eating the crumbs. But you failed to take into account one very important thing. Pink Sugar Fairies does an excellent job of standing up for themselves. But do you know what they have that you don't? They have me. The protection I give to my system extends to my community, and I am not the person to mess with. I really hope you're enjoying getting torn apart as much as I am.
Ugh, spooky. Because nothing is more terrifying than a mid-30-year-old woman on TikTok. Ugh. I am shaking. Among that though, she does seem to have a bad habit and a bad past of trying to bully people while messaging. I do even have some old messages of her asking me to take down the video as she then played victim. I'm not going to show them just out of respect. I'm more than happy showing videos about this person and what they've done, but I do think just straight up showing private messages between people breaches a little bit of privacy. Here are some of her videos in case you are still unaware of who this exactly is. But before we get into that, if you guys could leave a comment down below and I'll pick one of you for a comment shout out in the next video. Leave a comment down below saying TikTok is crazy and I'll pick one of you. That being said, let's dive straight into it.
No. This is not cool. No, it's not. People who really have this disorder suffer greatly. I know. I have it. I am suffering greatly. I promise they don't behave like this. This is ridiculous. This just in, folks, I am never, ever allowed to have fun, ever. I am traumatized. I am supposed to only be sad. I can only be sad. I'm only allowed to be sad. No fun ever. No happiness for you. Sad people aren't allowed to make jokes about being sad. What else am I supposed to make jokes about? I don't do anything else.
Very nice to meet you. My name is Astra. I am the newest member of the solar system. I came from a fusion of 5 different alters in our system. Alira, Nox, Dazzle, Smoke, and Elise all fused together to create me. My primary function is the same as Alira's. I hold our spiritual and religious trauma, and I am our spiritual protector.
Fuck.
So from seeing some of those videos, I'm sure you guys are pretty well caught up now. If you are a fan of this channel and you have been watching for a while, then you'll know how DID roughly kind of works. Let's be honest, it's a very complex thing, and me myself don't exactly 100% know. But one thing is for certain, creating different personas and then being able to use TikTok.
The bangs will need to be trimmed, like the others, because they are very, very long and I cannot see. But it's fluffy and it's, oh yes.
Implies to me that you are still conscious enough and haven't fully switched, because you are still using abilities that you yourself know, like using your phone, setting up the camera, editing it, and then posting it. Also, why would you want to post it? As we've discussed in previous videos, with DID, you will create certain alters to try and hide from certain trauma, so you don't actually want to even know about your own alters. So again, why would you record every single one of them and upload it to TikTok? It's no lie at this point that this type of behavior does extremely well online. I mean, look at the likes, the comments, the followers even, and the views. I'm sure it does get slightly addicting to these people, and it's kind of hard to break the stigma. As bad as it is that people have now come out saying that they no longer have DID, I have to somewhat give it to them that they did manage to break away from this. My theory is people like this carry on and just spread misinformation. And this case really is just a tricky one. They do claim to have a diagnosis, not that I've seen it, but you can't really go around asking for papers and asking and demanding. Some things really are, you just have to take their word for it. That being said, let's move over now to some of the things that they definitely are faking. Because sure, playing up for the camera isn't exactly ideal when it comes to misinformation, especially when impressionable kids watch this type of content. Because let's be honest, I get so many messages even now saying, "Ablaze, just let them be, they're not hurting anyone." Well, they certainly are. The people that actually have this, for one. Second, spreading misinformation is a bad thing. Let's say you had something and now there's this whole stigma out there online, but it's all completely wrong. It would do your head in, I'm sure. So yes, that is already bad enough, but here are some of the things that the solar system has actually just straight up faked. And I know this because in some of their videos, some of the hashtags that they decided to use for some reason, and also in their bio, it literally said undiagnosed ADHD. Some people are a strong believer in self-diagnosis because they believe nobody knows yourself better than you do. While that sounds really cool, at the end of the day, you're not a doctor, and understanding yourself is very different from understanding a mental health condition. They're two very different things. Just because she now has a diagnosis with something like DID doesn't now give her a free pass to pick and choose some different ones that she wants with that. Which leads me on to the next thing. She claims that she has OSDD and that her therapist isn't a specialist in that. Also, her therapist apparently says that OSDD and DID are the same thing, which for your therapist to be saying is completely inaccurate. especially according to other specialists in the field who define the differences in both of those disorders.
So a friend of ours tagged us in the comment section of a video talking about where the line between DID and OSDD is, and they wanted to know our thoughts on it. And I'm going to be honest, there isn't really one. Dissociation is a spectrum, and so any dissociative disorder is going to exist on that same spectrum, and it applies to systems as well. One of the reasons why there isn't a hard line between DID and OSDD 1, specifically 1A and 1B, is because systems experiences vary wildly. There are some similarities between systems, and that's where we get the diagnostic criteria, but everyone's experience is so unique that it's really, really difficult to determine in a lot of cases between DID and OSDD. We identify as an OSDD 1B system because based on how the language is written currently in the DSM-5, that's what we feel best describes our experiences. However, our therapist has said that really she could diagnose us either way, OSDD or DID.
Now, to make this video slightly different, because let's be honest, I do feel like a lot of these can be kind of the same. An annoying British guy rambling on for far too long. So I've actually decided to go out my way to ask some actual questions about this with someone that actually has DID. Now again, like I've mentioned earlier on in the video, just because you are diagnosed with DID doesn't exactly make you an expert. But having said that, having a diagnosis definitely makes you a bit more knowledgeable about the whole thing. More knowledgeable than me anyway. But I would like to stress though that these are just her thoughts, so definitely keep that in mind. And with that all being said, here's the questions that I decided to ask. Starting with, what's your opinion on people that claim to have DID, then start creating fun TikToks about it?
My opinion on that's pretty vague. It's basically point blank. It's not cosplay. DID is not fun. DID is not wearing wigs, makeup, and using TikTok filters. DID is not a thing to glamorize child age regress states with binkies and onesies and diapers. There is a big difference between educating on DID and cosplaying it for views and followers. And my problem is I want that kind of stuff shut down, especially the drug and sexualization. It is immoral and wrong to display alternative states like that. And I find a lot of people that I've talked to that it hurts them as well. People that are legitimately diagnosed, they find that the glamorization of DID being used and OSDD being used in such a manner is harming their therapy because people have gotten to the point where they're displaying it so immorally. Are there times where people that have DID can have fun and do things? Absolutely. And sometimes a switch or alternative state may help guide in the process of that. But most of the time, alternative states are something that is used as a coping mechanism to deal with stress or fear or issues when you feel uncomfortable in a place that you're not comfortable in.
And is DID and OSDD the same? And what are the differences between them?
So no, DID and OSDD are not the same, and they have similar symptoms, but there are things that are quite distinct between the two. So I'm going to reference off the APA here and tell you the differences between them. So the APA put out in 2013, someone with OSDD has dissociative symptoms, but they do not meet the sufficient criteria to be diagnosed with either depersonalization disorder, dissociative amnesia, and dissociative fatigue, or dissociative identity disorder. Now, Colin Ross, the #1 doctor on DID in the world who specializes in DID, states, most cases of OSDD are partial forms of DID with lack either clear switching of executive control, full amnesia barriers between identity states, or clear differentiation and structure of identity state. So usually what even like James Chu in 2011, who also specializes in DID, had stated that, you know, people with OSDD who do not, they don't have the extreme identity separation of like what dissociative identity disorder represents. I think the big thing with OSDD also is that you can show dissociative symptoms, but the number one criteria for clinicians, as stated by Caroline Spring, is if you have not met a full-blown alter with amnesic barriers, it's not DID. And it will usually be put under the OSDD category until further assessments can be done. So the big difference also is that OSDD and A&P and EP parts, A&P is fully co-conscious for what other parts are saying and doing, especially the emotional personalities or EPs, then that is not full DID. So then it will be put under the category of OSDD.
So there we have it. Honestly, I feel like it really does help to get the right information out there. Coming from someone that actually does have DID, and again, has the papers to prove it. Not just going onto TikTok claiming they have it while making fun dances. But like I already stated, it doesn't make you an expert, but it's nice to get the right information out there nonetheless. And it's amazing to see the differences between people who actually suffer with this awful mental condition as opposed to the people who just fake it. The ones that actually suffer with it try their best to put out the right information, and they don't make it seem fun or quirky or give themselves different characters. They're far more knowledgeable and they give much better information. They don't go on a rampage and start hating on people on TikTok like the person we're discussing about in today's video.
We start dating.
You're asking the guy in the relationship?
We're both the guy in the relationship.
That's true. Fuck!
I'm still amazed that this is somehow cool and quirky to have. I'm really generally surprised this trend hasn't died a long time ago. And when it comes to people in their 30s still doing this, not only is it not cool, but it's actually bordering on the line of just embarrassing at this point.
And if you don't want me to step on your toes, move your fucking feet.
Like I said, they asked me to take down these videos, but how can I when they carry on with this type of persona?
Never hit first. Always hit back. No.
And when they come to bullying people online as well, they are ruthless, as they straight up just threaten people in their videos for one, and again in other messages that I've seen, which I wish I could show, they're just as threatening.
I really hope you're enjoying getting torn apart as much as I am.
If I've learned anything over the course of this last year while doing videos like this, they may seem all nice and innocent on TikTok and like they are truly victims, but again, the whole thing is just entirely fake.
You can't... Sorry, I'm a little heated about this. You can't cure my autism any more than you can cure my OSDD. It's the way your brain is made. It's the way it functions. It's not something like a situational depression where you can get on antidepressants and get out of that situation and move on with your life and be better. This is a lifelong thing.
And one of the things that I find most odd about a lot of these videos is if you do go over to her TikTok account, a lot of them are being recorded from a car, but I would have thought if you can switch at any time, you wouldn't be allowed to drive. I would have thought, because there's videos out there where she's in her car, pulled over, and she switches on camera, so she claims anyway. And also the fact that DID and OSDD are extremely taxing on your body and mind. How the hell is she finding time to upload 4 to 6 videos a day? She has a better upload schedule than I do. Granted, that's not hard, but still, if you were going through this much emotional pain, how are you managing to do this? All in all, some food for thought. Let me know what your opinion is on this. There is a lot of misinformation out there on TikTok, as we've come to see for ourselves over these past few years. And sometimes I do find it important, like I say, to do deep dives. If you guys could please share this video around, it would help a lot and I would really appreciate it. With that all being said, I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below on your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.